Good. So let's start. Yeah, today's topic is setting up our first squad, right?
Yes.
And before we actually jump into the topic, right? And before we say that, hey, this is the way I set up my first squad. How about if we start with the how was your experience when you part of that squad? Right, when you were on the other side, when you were part of the squad which was being set up for the first time, right? Or maybe your Scrum Master, your Agile Coach, or maybe your manager was trying to set it up. Right? So if anyone can recall that experience, if you can remember, you may have to go back to 10-15 years back.
Yeah, so I
Sanjay, just
Pransh, go ahead.
no, Dinesh, go on. Okay.
No, so I can say that like hardly 12 years back, not 12 years, 11 and a half year backs. Frankly speaking, I was confused. What is going on? Because Agile was demanding, because we never worked in Agile. We worked in those waterfall days. I was part of the testing team. So it was demanding, test case in 1 week, execution in 2 days, and bugs and other stuff, integration, other stuff. I was confused for at least for 3 or 4 sprints. I was a little bit surprised what is going on. And then I think by little bit guidance, I generally I adopt that process, and slowly I got to know the importance of Agile and Scrum. So this is my point of view. I can say I'm confused at that time.
Good, Dinesh. I had actually one question, before putting up my perspective. If you're using word squad, are we like focusing on Spotify model, or just like first team, you can say?
Sanjay, you are on mute.
So what I was saying, we may be using the word team and squad interchangeably. So nothing too specific to Spotify. It's maybe the general. Let's focus on the Scrum. Yeah. Yeah, Pranju.
So again, as Dinesh also said, I have to recollect. But I remember when I was, given the opportunity to set up my, first team. I knew, or I didn't know, earlier, but I explored, because I was in that position. I had to set up expected how, that constitution should look like. So I explored more on cross functionality, and mapped it with the, you can say, our context, what the product needed at that time. And surprisingly, uh, because it was, I mean, in my journey also, my personal journey, it was quite early, so I didn't have many arrows in my quiver. So I was not able to convince corresponding people, the management, that okay, why do you need all these people? Like, especially I remember specifically, uh, they were DevOps thing. So I demanded that okay, one DevOps expert person should be there in the team. So I was not able to convince them why it is required like whole time for in the team. So yeah.
Good. How about you, Amit? You want to share something?
Yeah, for sure, definitely. In fact, I was thinking that what the squared meaning is, right? And if I'm going with the dictionary, to be very honest, or whatever understanding I do have about this word squared, it's mean coming together with a group of people, right? Having the same objective, right? And working towards that. If that is the meaning, I would say I set up my first square 25 years back, when we 30 people came together for a training in the armed forces, right? Setting up the same direction, going for a call. And if I'm talking about the experience, that was tough. But I enjoyed it. It was kind of initially we were like, no way, and then we started enjoying it as a family, as a friend. So that was good for me.
That's fair. That's good. Right. So I would say maybe fast forward maybe 10 or 15 years, right?
Yeah.
Come back to your professional life,
Yeah,
right?
coming
Now and
into
let's
yeah,
focus on your Scrum team now.
even that was a professional life, but coming out of IT life and the Scrum life, right? The first team or the square which we set up, right? This is more about the different thoughts came into our mind. In front of our manager, we're like, oh, we are okay. But behind the back, there's something. Is he doubting us? Why he's changing all these rules and regulation? Why he's changing all these processes? Is it not, or is he going to put one more kind of manager in front on our head? What is going there? So there are so many questions, but slowly and gradually, when you got to know, it looks like, oh, that makes sense to us. In fact, this is helpful for us. That was the first. That was the thing.
No, that's fair. So I can talk about my experience. So something similar to what Pranshu was saying, right? When the first time I was introduced to this thing called as Scrum, so I was working as a project manager, right? So fortunately, unfortunately, I was on the other side where I was trying to set it up, right? So and by the way, the very first Scrum training I went through, that was for the PSD, the Professional Scrum Developer. Right? It wasn't a 5 days long course. Though it's the standard is 3 days, but we expanded it to 5 days. I went through all the technical stuff and everything. Right? But when we started working on it, obviously there wasn't a good support given by other people, including my own manager. Right? Though he was also trying to learn about it. Right? But if I look at my style, so I was still working as a typical project manager, right? I was still preparing those weekly status reports, still used to have those so-called daily scrum in a more of a daily status meeting format. It's not only the developers, there were other people were also involved in that, right? So it took a lot of time, right? So to actually get into a different mode, right? But initially, it's not only me, even my team members were also working as a typical software engineer, right? So it was not easy to adapt the new stuff, right, or the new ways of working, right? But we were trying. So and it took us maybe 3 to 4 years to actually get into that mode. It was a long journey for us, right? And there were some issues which we may cover when we have others sharing about it. That's a very brief about it. Yep. Yeah, Ish, you have something to share?
Yes. So for me, this journey was different, Sanjay. Like because when I start working on the Scrum, so I work in the different side. Like I work as a Scrum Master. So before that, I totally worked in the waterfall. But during the waterfall way of working, I was very curious, to know what's this agile, what is Scrum, and all those terminology were looking like some buzzword to us. And now we know we are part of it. Now it's importance. We know the importance of it. But we were very curious to work in the different way of working, because in waterfall we face certain challenges, and we heard from our folks and our peers, there are some agile way of working from which you can reduce some risk, you can do better, you can produce some increments and then get some early feedbacks. So all those things which were helping me to know more about agile, about Scrum, and what are the different ways of working. And fortunately I started my first learning with with the certification I did for the PSM, and then from there my Scrum Master journey started. And till now, it's a rewarding journey for me. I just grown a lot. Yeah, if I talk about in my knowledge wise, if I my profession wise and my personality wise, it's grown in every way. And till now, by God grace, it's going well. And still in the learning phase. I will not say I have learned, but it's still in the learning phase. Every day you learn it. And there are a lot of things which I realized I should do it earlier, and now I'm learning and experiencing it, which we will discuss in the later part of the event. So that's
Yep.
my.
Yep. And I just to add on to when you talk about that PSM, so I still remember it, and I use that example a lot of time in my classes. Right. So on the second day of the PSM workshop, right, Ish came to me and said that, hey, Sanjay, I think this is not for me. Right.
I remember when you say what is you are learning from all this 2 days, like, and I remember what I written. Scrum Master does nothing. I remember that, like, I written. So, but my perception was completely wrong on that. Like, so that sometimes, like, with the time you realize and understand the value of role and how you are adding the value to the team.
Right,
So,
right.
so again, like, it's evolving process that has happened.
Yeah, it is. Right, that's true. And then just to complete my part, so I said, hey, Scrum Master is not for me. I think when are you doing your product owner class? So I would be more interested in it than the Scrum Master. So this is not a good role to be. But that's fair. That's how it is. Good, good. So I think let's continue the discussion. So let me ask, I think just to add into it. So think about it. Let's go back maybe 10 or 15 years based on our experience. What is the, maybe in case if to do it again, the same stuff, right? What is the one or two things we would like to do differently now? Maybe being
If
part
we,
of that team, or maybe setting up that team, whatever way you are. Yeah, Ish? Yep.
So I can share one example, like, maybe that has recently happened with me. So I just got an opportunity to work with a brand new team, like, so that was completely new, and we have to start from sprint zero. Like, we usually call in our term, but sprint zero, we know there is no sprint zero, but we usually call in our nomenclature or terminology sprint zero. We have to start from sprint zero. But how I started, like, and what my experience I used, like, so the day one when I met with the team, like, there was the product owner and the development team, and then just we had a session of, like, to know each other, because that's the first step you need, because that's required to know the team dynamics and how the team temperaments are there, how the product owner is behaving. So that was more of a discussions. And then there was some sort of questions, like, to do the personal mapping, like, how the people, what are the hobbies, what the person is doing, what are his working styles. So there are a lot of discussion everybody was talking about. So in that, we just, like, figure out certain, I will say, things which are helpful for us. First, to define when our project or when our work will kick off. So we just with agreement, we start, okay, from this date onwards, we are going to start our kickoff, maybe after 1 week or 2 weeks, whenever we do. And then we open a mirror board. Then I ask a question to everyone, like, what do you think, what we need to proceed further on the day one of our sprint when we start, like, what do you think, what we need to do? So it's not me who is telling you, it's something, let's see what as a team we are going to figure out. What do you think, what we need? And being a technical team member, like, someone did infra setup, environment setup, some code, some trainings, and everybody written all about the tangible things which are required, like product backlog and all those things. But nobody write, like, there are basic things, how we can improve collaboration, how we can improve the trust in the team, how we can ensure we have the working agreement, what will be our communication channel, what are the objective of our team, what will be the mission of our team. So these are the things nobody writes, just everybody thinks, like, from the doing point of view, what exactly we need. Like, we need the infra, we need this, that, all this to that. But then I thought, like, how can I say, like, it was easy for me to say, okay, we can include all those things also. But I just asked some question to them, like, what do you think, how we can collaborate and how we can make our work in the better way? What do you think, what we need to do? How we need to set up the communication channel? So those were some triggering point. And then we define some action item, like, how we can proceed further. So that was not a one day exercise. That happened with the time. So my first point was, like, let the team decide, not the only the one person who is telling the team, okay, this is my first team and we have to set up. Let the as a team whole decide what you need to do to set up the first thing. And there are then, like, there are some ideas, how you convert those ideas into the action. There, Scrum Master can play a crucial role. That's my first understanding, which I learned with the time, but open for the suggestion.
No, good. That's a
lovely,
good one.
Ish, yeah. And
Yeah,
honestly saying, Ish, Dinesh, and everybody, if I got a chance to go back into times, right, the day we started on this, and the small knowledge which is I do have right now, I would like to change at least one thing, to be very honest. When we started working on this agile framework and the processes, the more about how we are going to change or going to deliver the quality to the organization, right, with our work. But this time, I would like to start with how this is helping us as a team, developing a good human being, first of all. Second thing, how this is giving a value to us rather than organization, right? I really want to say that loud to the people, why this is important, not only for organization, but for you as well, so that they can at least say, oh, there is something for me, and let me start with this. I really want to see that buy with the people, how this is beautiful for them, not only for organization.
Yep, that's valid point. Yeah, Sunil, anything you have to share?
Am I audible?
Yep, you are.
Yeah, very nicely summarized by Ish and Amit. It's very nice. It's always nice, that none of us is as smart as all of us. So, and the collective knowledge of the room is always, more than any individual. So, taking everyone together, working with them, and somehow, if we can take our team from a compromising situation to a more collaborative side. So, that is very, very important. And taking together more on the collaborative side, I think it is definitely a very, very important part. And if we can do that, it truly delivers.
Yep, that's true. That's true. And just to add into what all of you said, so again, it again depends on the team to team, organization to organization, and may not work everywhere, right? But the way I look at it is, think about in a scenario when you are setting up in your new team, right? People may not be aware of this thing called as an agile scrum, right? They may not be used to this new ways of working, right? They may not feel comfortable with, in case if you tell them, hey, go and do it in whatever way you want, right? So they may look at it, hey, what is this manager or maybe the scrum master he or she is, right? So what is his or her accountability then in case we have to do it ourselves, right? So that's where they may be looking for some direction also,
Right.
right? And sometimes it may be more of a very concrete direction, right? In you may have to tell them, go and do this and maybe this way,
Right.
right? But over and it may work for it may, you may have to do it maybe for initial few sprint or maybe depending on the months or quarter, whatever you want to call it, right? And over a period of time you should start maybe providing them more flexibility, right? Giving them the 100% flexibility on the very first day sometime may or may not work, right? It may create unnecessary chaos also, right? So just be careful. I think that's what happened with us, but generally it happened on the other side. Yeah, people make it too tight for everyone to actually flex at all, right? We end up into maybe too much of micromanagement, but we have to keep loosening our what you say control, right? Or maybe let people decide how the way but giving doing it from the very first day may be a bit risky also, right? So we have to be careful, right? Just by attending 2 days training doesn't make anyone self-manage, right? Just to be careful. Yep. Yeah. Who else? Anyone would like to add?
So Sanjay, on your point, just if we look at the Tuckman model, when there is a first stage, forming stage, there it's written because the team member are new, they have not worked with each other, they don't know about the what are the directions. So they look for their team lead direction. It can be team lead or scrum master. So you rightly said, some directions are really required in the beginning. So that can help us to guide the team, how we need to proceed further. So I echo to that. That's good.
Right. Yeah, Pranshu.
I really agree with what Ish said. In fact, I remember again from a personal experience when second time it happened, when we were about to set up a team from scratch. So at that time, I think as far as I can remember, I had almost 2.5 years of experience working in Agile. So when similar situation came up, I directed the team again. I'm open for different opinions, whether I was right or whether something different could have been done. So I directed the team that okay, the DevOps skill is required, right? They all agreed to that. Yeah, okay, we need to deploy and we need that kind of support. But there was, you can say, uh, a hint of concern in some people mind or maybe the whole team that okay, this is not something, this skill is not something that we require like on a daily basis. So if we say have a sprint goal and working towards it, what that person will do on daily basis. So why not have that person say by the end of the sprint when we are prepared and want to deploy or implement on a particular environment. So then at that point, I guided them. See, even if you don't require that skill on a regular basis, but that person has to know what you guys are working on, right? So that he can prepare himself as well as whatever infrastructure point of view or whatever things are required uh, in accordance with what you guys are working on. And gradually, that skill could be translated and you all other members who doesn't at this point possess that skill can acquire that skill in the long run, and that could help. So was it a good enough thing, or should something be done differently?
Anyone would like to comment? No. Yeah, Ish, you.
No, I think can you repeat your question? Maybe I missed that. I was just doing some multitasking.
No, so what Pranshu was
Okay.
saying that for an a DevOps, his team needs an a DevOps skill, right?
Mhm.
So he said that we need an one DevOps person in our team, right? But there wasn't a question, hey, since those deployment or all the stuff may be required by the end of the sprint, not maybe at the during or at the start of the sprint. So the question being asked was, hey, why do we need this dedicated person? Why can't we have that person maybe coming at the end of the sprint, right? But his point was, hey, it doesn't matter whether that person is may not be doing anything, may not be doing much work during the sprint, but having that person being part of the team may help him or her understand, hey, what you all are doing, or maybe you never know. Sometime it may be required at the end of the sprint, sometime maybe during the middle of the sprint, or maybe start, or maybe throughout the sprint, right? So so his point was to have that person throughout the sprint, but there was other people may have a different opinion that he or she should be at that. Did I cover it, Pranshu?
Yep, perfectly.
Yeah.
So
Pranshu, tell me one thing. Tell me one thing. What did idea work for your team?
Yeah, I was coming to that only. So half-heartedly, I would say, the because team was ready or acceptable, or I would say, as Sanjay said earlier, they needed direction. So when I, you can say, influentially said that, okay, no, we need that person full time, dedicated. The team was in agreement, but the management half-heartedly put that person. Okay, let you guys have that person. And gradually, I think we did 3.5 sprint were done, and they realized that, okay, this was the right thing that we did. So it worked for our team.
You got your answer right. So that worked for you.
Yeah.
Normally ये प्रांशु होता है कि आप हल्दीराम के समोसे खाते हैं ना, तो आप किसी को चाहे कितने अच्छे क्यों ना, तो किसी को आप बोलोगे ना कि मेहंदी राम के खा लो, for example, right? People say no, नहीं जरूरत है मेरे को. But when they are trying it, maybe they're gonna love it.
Right. And sorry. Yeah, Pranshu,
So
go ahead.
no, I was just looking at the Pransu situation from the other side. Like, if we are not including the DevOps person from the day one or when, like in the sprint, and let's he do require that whenever he is doing the end date, if that is working well, because at the end what we are looking like, we are looking for sprint goal we are achieving. But you said like, we sometimes it required, then definitely we will face some issue and we will fail. So sometimes failing teach us like, what is the really requirement, like, that's inspected that, okay, we failed now we need to include this from the beginning or from this day. So let's make it an evolving process, and it's come from the, like, everybody should be in the agreement, okay, because we face this problem, now we need to adopt this solution or this way of working, and let's go in this way. Maybe I will always like, go for it. If you don't want, that's fine, let's try this. And if you are failing, then let ask from them, what do you think, what should do we now to improve now? So sometimes this help, like,
Yeah,
because
I
my
completely
only
agree
point
with
was,
you.
yes.
Yeah.
Yep, that's good.
And that's in fact was the case. What I was telling you, when the first time I had the similar situation, and we couldn't get a full-time DevOps person from the day one. So they realized later on, because it was kind of what happened was, it was more or less a phase gate kind of thing was happening. By the end of the sprint, everything is developed. Then they were approaching some specific members who are working in the DevOps. Then they were deploying it. So user acceptance and all those things are happening after the sprint is closed. Right? So yeah,
Yeah.
your point is right. Yeah.
You raised the
But-
right point about the user experience testing, but that's not the point of discussion here. We will discuss some other time. Okay.
Yeah. So actually, we are discussing on initial experiences when
Yes.
we were dealing with first Scott setup and what we learned and how we improved ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah. And just to add into it, think about from the management side of it, right? Since if you need one more person, right, that's an extra cost for the management,
Yeah.
right? So it becomes a bit tricky also. Think about yourself. In case if you have to pay it from your own pocket, you will try to save as much as you can,
True that.
right? So, but that's what it is. But again, it's more of a discussion, negotiation, and maybe learning from what didn't go well, and then maybe adapting accordingly. Yep. Good. Yeah, Ish, what else do you have?
So I have 2 points in my mind, which I want to discuss with them. So, like when we start with for the first team, and what is the importance of having that team charter? When I say team charter, it includes everything. It includes what is your mission of your team, what are the objectives that we are going to achieve, what are our stakeholders that we should be aware of, what are our team composition and roles, do we have the cross-functional team? So building that team charter, how that is important, when I say team mission, should we need to set some mission for our team, what should be our mission when we are working on some project or product, how exactly this is going to play a role, to improve our way of working, and then what are the objectives that we need to set for ourselves in terms of working, that depend on on the product which we are working. So maybe we can have some discussion on particularly on the team mission, because I just got this team mission sort of thing in my mirror, and then I thought what mission we can have for our team and how much important this is for it first squared. So there I want the input from you guys, and then I will share my experience also, what I did with that.
Sure. Yeah, Amit, you want to start?
Okay, and honestly, this is a really interesting question is which you're asking right now, right? And I was thinking loud in my head. When you think charter, right, it's a beautiful thing, especially when team is having, and the mission is something which is actually driving that charter, right? The mission coming from the kind of the top level, right? Just would like to, because I'm coming from that ARM background, so I would like to give you that example of that, right? That we have to achieve that goal. Just for example of Kargil, right? We have to achieve that particular target, right? So that's the mission. But how we are going to complete it as a team, what is needed there to achieve that becomes a charter for me, right? Who's going from which direction, who's going to use the ammunition, who's going to use that AK-47, who's having that hand grenades, right? But the goal is there. We have to achieve that. So this is something coming to my mind, right? So charter is something based on how they're going to achieve that mission, which has been given to them.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
And yeah, sorry, Amit, you are done or?
No, I'm done.
Okay. So the very first thing, Ish, I think about this mission or the vision statement, I love it. So I set it up for all my teams, right? And when I say vision statement, and I can give it a very recent example. I was working with a team. I gave them, hey, can we come up with or do you have a vision statement for ourselves? And they came up with something which was really very, very technical.
Mhm.
Right.
Yes.
So and which doesn't make sense at all, right? I won't say it doesn't make sense, but it may not be the best way of defining your vision. So I gave them and I asked, hey, think about your maybe top 1 or 2 dream company, right? And go and read their vision or the mission statement, right? Get inspiration from them, and then let's come back and prepare our mission statement, right? And that's how we started, and we came up with a really good one. And if you ask people, hey, what are you doing or what is your mission or statement, forget about the vision or the mission, maybe asking them what are you doing, the people start talking about I'm creating an API, I'm doing a microservice, I'm doing this
Right.
testing, all that. So those are things are okay, right? Those things, those are the daily tasks we do, right? But when you have a really great vision statement, and then when somebody asks you what do you do, and you are able to relate to that vision, that's a different, right?
Right.
That inspires a lot of people. And the task I gave to them is, hey, in case if you have to go home and your parents ask you, or maybe somebody in your family who doesn't know about the IT, if they ask you what do you do, right, that should be your vision. Come up with that statement,
Right.
right?
So
It should not use. I hope it will not be using any technical terminology at all. Right? Yeah, sorry, you were saying.
So I will give my example. What happened? That was a funny incident that happened. Like, so somebody write in the Miro board, like, team charter. Then I said, what do you mean by team charter? And then this mission sort of thing come up in the discussion. Then other team member asked, like, what do you mean by team mission? Like you said, team mission. What do you mean by team mission? What exactly we are saying? The simple answer which I can think of at that time, like my said, like, we need to think why this team exists. Like, what is the reason for existence of this team? Think in this way. Why this team exists? So somebody said to do the work, to complete the work, to just fulfill the customer needs. Like I said, okay, like we are definitely here to do the work, but only if we have to do the work, maybe somebody else can also do it. But as a team is our what I can say, like USP sort of things. Why we are here, so then ask, just think why we are and what extra value we can bring other than the work, either what we can do, we can provide the full dedication, 100% devotion to our customer. We are providing some tailoring solution to them. We are having the sustainable or learning environment, how psychological state we are creating. Just think away, why this team exists. Like there can be, don't think about only one. Let's have 2 or 3 missions also that we can go in the beginning, and then we have to discuss and define some mission for us. But that's still, we require some evolvement or refinement of that, and that's still going on. But that's that's why sometimes you need to go into the simple language just to understand, team member are getting the right thing out of it. But this really challenging, Sanjay, mission, vision, that got a lot of confusion sometimes, and find out, and what simple I was able to understand why this team exists. That's the, if we get the answer, that's the mission of my team.
That's true. Or maybe just reverse it. What in case if team doesn't exist?
Yeah.
What would be the impact? Right. That the missing part may be our mission. That's the reason we are here.
Right.
Yep. Yeah,
But believe me, there's a lot of energy required for this type of discussion, and a lot of brainstorming.
There is. Right. And you are right. When you are setting up your first team, I think doing these things, right, requires a lot of energy, and actually the way it helps is it brings everyone together. Right. People started thinking like as in a one team. Right. So these are really, and obviously the team charter, right? I think some of you may have used it. There are some templates also available for setting up the team canvas or team charter, which talks about your mission statement, which talks about your stakeholder, right? Which talks about the other stuff also, right? So that helps actually. That actually is maybe one of the way you can actually start thinking as a team, right? And it's not necessarily at the start of setting up team. Wherever you are, in case you have not done it yet, just go and do it. It includes your team agreement also, right?
Yes.
Right. How we are going working, how we are going to treat each other, right? What in case if we are late to the meeting, right? What in case if somebody is not coming to office, right? How he or she is going to inform.
Yeah, what will be the communication channels?
What will be the communication? All those things, right? Doing it maybe in whatever stage of your team you are, that's good. But doing it at the start will always be great. Yeah, Dinesh. So silent.
Silent today, but I think everybody is covered. So I have a little bit different approach, which I basically more of my conventional way. More of, because what I feel is, if you have a team, if you are working with a team which is which knows better, then I think no need to tell them, to teach them what other Scrum, Agile, another way, and But for example, it is very new team, so my intention always is to collaborate with them, to do some activities so that each other can trust other, more of a know each other, because they come from the different backgrounds. Okay. Then teaching Scrum, not net at once, teaching Scrum, for example, one day I can pick the topic of daily Scrum other than the sprint planning also, so that when they start, they can know what basically they are doing it. And then I start playing a role of a teacher, conventionally a teacher, just to tell them, okay, do whatever you are doing, and when the time comes, you will get to know. And then my favorite, whenever some question these tactics, so whenever my favorite clip to show them is from I remember that Jackie Chan film, Karate Kid, where he told that Jackie Chan told that kid to just to rub, and then that move basically, when he applies that move in the end of the story, and then he realized that why my teacher always asked to polish that car or something. I don't remember it. Yeah, because so this is my conventional way, but yes, there are things evolves around, but it has been quite a long time that I'm getting the new team. So I can't say more about, but I think my first step, if I a little bit different I can do is more activity based, so that as much as early they can know each other, uh, they will be happily producing the increments actually.
Good, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pranchu.
That's very good point. Dinesh mentioned. I also recalled, in the early days, uh, just to have more collaboration, and what Isha also said, that to help team to come up with why they exist, or why they are there in that setup. I remember I set up. I don't remember. I mean, where I got that idea from, but I asked them the question that, okay, identify your superpower. Okay, what you bring in to the team, to their job. And surprisingly, some of the people who were new in their journey, in fact in the overall industry, were not able to guess or identify that, okay, what do I bring. I'm almost a fresher, I don't know anything. Surprisingly, other team members who were working with them from last 2 or 2 sprints were able to give some suggestions. See, you ask these type of questions, you bring in this particular expertise. This is your superpower. So it was kind of good bonding event also, and they realized that, okay, why they exist and why they coexist, more importantly.
Yeah. So I generally play the game build your own Scrum Master, where you get to
Yeah.
know the team expectations also, and the team get the Scrum Master expectations also.
Yep, that's true. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ish, you said you had 2 points. So first
Two
is
point. Yeah, the other point, like from the product owner point of view, like we need, because at the same time we need to ensure we are having the product backlog ready. Like ready means like at least when we are doing kickoff, we should have some sort of like epics or initiative, like how we are structured down our work, like into the stories or tasks, like so do the product owner only need to create the beginning, or he need to work with the team and then need to create? Maybe I know the epics he can create, but when we talk about the storage, when it come to the little granular level, so sometimes it required a product owner need to have a discussion with the team in the refinement discussions, and then prepare the storage. So how we can set up this product backlog things from the beginning, what are the things that we can coach to our product owner in the beginning. Suppose he's also new to Scrum, or maybe he's about the Scrum, he know how to create the storage and everything. But sometimes our product owner can be super busy in the initial days. He is maybe he's not fully dedicated to our squad, but he's there. And there we need the help of team also to to write down the storage and to to do some tactical sort of things. So how we need to take care of those things, that maybe I do something, but I think there can be some best way I can understand from this group.
anyone.
Ish. So, so the kitchen in my house, right? It belongs to my wife every time, but it doesn't mean that she is the only one, and I can't enter. I can, yes, with the permission
Yes.
of my wife. Okay, can I help you out if you need something, maybe chopping something or something like that, right? And when I'm helping her out, right, something happens. Oh, this is something new. I never knew that, right? Which you are doing. That is even helping her out, in fact, giving a guidance to her as well, right? And I'm also learning. Even and me as an assistant to my wife in that kitchen, sometimes I'm thinking I'm going to could be a good kitchen chef a day, right? Good cook. So obviously that kitchen belongs to my wife, but it's not stopping me humbly with getting a permission from my wife to get into the kitchen. Same goes with the product, right? Backlog owns by him or her, but nobody's stopping the team members, right? With the permission of product owner to go and help them out. Or maybe he can ask or she can ask, can you help me out in chopping all these things stories? I might be wrong, but this is my thought.
No, I understand that's the common understanding. But just I was careful also, because team is new and they don't have any idea about this product. So what I suggested, that was also maybe wrong approach. Like I said, from the beginning, let you create some stories, define it, let the team understand, like, what is our product vision, what our product is doing. Like, at least they should know the high level things, or maybe if we have some sort of documentation, let's share with the team. Let's team understand first, like, and then with slowly, the team can definitely help it. Like, but the initial time, maybe I will expect you to do it to, like, to make it a little smooth, like, directions to proceed further. And I said, like, I may be wrong, but here, like, but that's something I suggested to my product owner. But you also said, like, we can involve the team member in the beginning also. But sometimes, like, team member ask question, like, I don't know about it. Why should I write? So this type of resistance also come in the beginning, and that resistance should not be a, like, problem for us, like, for the, because the team is also in the forming stage. They are, like, new to each other, and also we are asking them to write the stories. They are also doing the infra setup. There are other things technical the team is doing. So we need to be mindful also, like, what we need to ask them to ensure they don't feel like, some sort of bad practice or bad intention towards Scrum, or what everything we need to do. Like, we are also relating the backlog, infra, yes, and that, so I said, like, maybe I can help you in that direction. Like, if you need, we can discuss and find out, like, how we can break down the work into initiative epics. If required, with the stakeholders, I can help you in the discussions. But that's something I suggested, but like,
No,
open for it.
agree.
But your point is also valid. I mean, we can.
And then Ish, obviously my second point, after listening to you second time, I would be, I'm going to, if I'm a Scrum Master coach to my product owner, right, I would be asking to him or her why he or she wants the team to be involved in the backlog, right? Maybe there is something good reason,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Which will
yes,
help the team.
yes.
If the reason is very valid, maybe I'm open with it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm.
And we can communicate this particular vision, a good intention to the team, so that they can say, "Oh, this is nice. We can help."
Yes, agree.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
and
true. And
what about you act as a listener between development team and product owner to set up some agreement between both of them, right? Uh, dev team can listen to his expectations, and product owner can listen to their expectations also. How team can help product owner in the future also. Maybe the same build your Scrum Master, you can do the build your product owner also.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's a good thought.
Yeah.
yeah,
And that
yeah.
can happen with time. Like, maybe once we will be
Exactly. But initial thought, so that they are on the same harmony or same synchronization, so that if you direct the team that okay, just talk to product owner and took this feature and create those stories. So this may create a conflict going forward. But if expectations are already there, then I think team can understand, right? But anyhow, product owner needs to spend more time in the initial phase to the new team. Then slowly he can move back a little bit. Yeah.
agree.
And I can add on top of it. So based on my experience, what I have seen is generally product owner being more a bit more senior person, right? Being maybe a bit of experience also in Agile or Scrum, or if not experience, at least have gone through training prior to the developers,
Yes,
right? So that person understand what does it mean, right? So initially, again, similar to the way we discussed earlier. So if it is in a very start of your team setup, I think it's always expected from the product owner to do that good job,
yes.
right? Leaving it to the team may or may not work, right? But he or she can take help from team, but cannot give it completely. Hey, now you go and do it, right? It can still work as in a team activity, right? But and that's one. And the other side is obviously the Scrum Master, right? So it again depends. If Scrum Master is in a veteran and experienced person, then that's great. But most of the time in those setups, generally a Scrum Master is just being transitioned from a project manager to the Scrum Master, right? So it's a new thing for that person also, right? So that's where the product owner being the most experienced one in Scrum, right? Now it's up to him or her the way it should be done, right? Or he or she wants to do it. But for the initial setup, I would still expect product owner to take the lead, right? And take help from Scrum Master or the product or the team wherever required. But product owner should take the lead to setting it up, right? Maybe we're doing in a whiteboarding, putting on a sticky note flip chart, right? Or maybe coming up with that hierarchy, right? Nitty-gritty may still take some time, but still, right? And that's what I heard a lot, that even the product owner has written most of the things, but if there is something missing, right, the developers are going to complain about it.
Yeah, it was not in the story, so that's why we have not developed
Exactly.
it.
That's how it happens, right? It was not in the acceptance criteria. It was not there. It was not mentioned as well. We didn't do it, right? So that happens, right? So it takes time, but initially it should be the product owner who should take lead. That's maybe my take, right? Yeah, Pranshu, you want to add?
Same thing you mentioned in the last. That's what I was about to mention. That this happens. If we go back to basics, the 3 C's. So usually I've seen again the same thing, because usually the product owner is kind of more experienced, and they you can say take this first step, putting the card, but from the perspective of business only, right? Maybe going to and fro with the business and customer, and writing it down, but they I would say kind of work in silo, and don't you can say uh, feel good enough to connect with the technical team also, to understand their perspective, and write it together, right? Have a conversation, and if there are, I mean, don't even think about investments, but forget about it. But at least if there is too much interdependency, or if say something could be developed but could not be tested in the end independently, unless until something else, or maybe two other stories could be done, then that doesn't make sense, right? And if it's repeating again and sprint to sprint, then it doesn't make sense. So yeah, that's where we come in, right? As Scrum Master, we have to bridge that gap to help them all understand.
True.
And maybe one more point I just thought, and it just came to my mind, how important is it for the new team, to meet its stakeholder? Do we need to wait for the sprint review, because sprint review where we need to have have the meeting with the stakeholders, or we can have some sort of initial, some sort of introduction meeting, or just to know what all our stakeholders, how we can help them each other. So does it really require to set up some sort of more of know our stakeholders type of things, or it's fine, we can just meet during the further part of the sprints when we will start working, and then definitely we will start collaborating with those guys.
This one, Mahesh, I would to take first,
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
have very close experience with this. In my humble opinion, it's very important. It's very important to even let them connect with the end customer or stakeholders from the day one. Even if you know very well that they might not be grasping, say, even 10 or 15% of it, okay, or maybe even grasping but not retaining. But it's very important. I have seen it works wonders, because if the actual doers, I call developers actual doers, right? If they are connected with you can say the problem that the product is going to solve for that end customer, it works as a interesting motivational factor in the long run. So I would 100% agree that they should connect with the key stakeholders right from the day.
Anish, what do you mean by stakeholders? The person who is funding that product, or the person, the people who are coming?
No, the users, whoever is acting as a business for us, the user of our product, or the sponsor, it can be anybody, who is for whom we are actually working. You can just think in that way.
Like for people that are going to use it personally, right? The product, right? You're talking about these people.
Yeah, it can be sponsor, it can be users also, because there are some representative from the business who act as a more of a business for us or sponsor for us. So whom we will invite our sprint review for, just do it, accept, or just provide the feedback on the work which we are doing.
That it makes sense that the team should meet these people, right? But these are important.
No, the team should meet, so I was thinking, it is required to have a separate initial meeting to meet our stakeholder. It's fine, we can wait for the sprint review and then team is meeting with them. So that's something I thought it can be vice versa, but is there any really requirement to set up initial meeting with them, to know our stakeholder and just connect them and understand about the product vision, why we are doing this type of work, more of an open discussion between the stakeholder and the tech team, so that they can understand each other sort of things. So that is, like Pranshu said, that can do wonders also, because if the developers, the doers understand the why part of the product, then nobody can stop them to produce a beautiful product. So that's I thought Pranshu was Priyanshu said it rightly, but that also depend upon how much time stakeholders have. That also the another factor that we can think of.
True that completely depends. So it's more like whether you want to meet your guys, especially the people that are going to develop something, saying that, hey, these are people who are going to develop the Tesla for you, right? Before they start doing it. Or maybe you can say, people say, oh, this part is, I really want to meet this people. Those are develop this for me. That totally depends. Or based on the time or something, right?
Right.
Oh, then that's good. I think what you just mentioned, Ish, so it again depends on the availability of the stakeholders also, right? And obviously, it's always help, or it's really great to have a stakeholder connect. But when you start your first team, you may or may not have that. I would say what you say, luxury of meeting the stakeholder, right? But keep it in your to-do list, even if your team is not meeting. Keep it in your to-do list, and whenever you see an opportunity, let's do it, right? But don't keep it until unless we meet our stakeholder, we are not going to start.
No, no, that's not the case.
That should not be. There are cases where people become so adamant. No, these are the things which we have to do. If we don't have these, we won't do anything. Right? Start with whatever you have. Right, but keep in a checklist or keep in a to-do list for yourself, and every sprint or maybe every month just tick 1 or 2 out of them. Right. So you will never get an idle platform to start something. Right. You always have to start with whatever you have. That would be my take. But that's right. Yep. Yeah, Pranju.
We just wanted to add, because what Amit mentioned, I mean, it clarified. So I assumed kind of that the stakeholders, maybe because of my limited experience, but from stakeholders I meant, and or key customers, or who know actually what business problem we are going to solve by building a particular product. And in my experience, I want to give just a short example. I remember we were building a payment, digital payment app was already existing. We were trying to build an extension of it to, facilitate payments using this short code, right? Using even for the people who are not having that digital or say smartphones, right? So using that short code method where we use the star and the grid. And I'm talking this about, I think, 6 or 7 years back. So it's still not that much popular because of security reasons and compliance. But having the team, from the day one connect to that, you can say issue, that problem that they're trying to solve, right? For that financial inclusion of those people who do not possess a smartphone, that kind of, worked as a missing motivation for them. So that's what I was trying to do.
That's good. Great. So looking at the time, I think we are almost there. Right. But I think it was good. Right. Anything else you would like to cover, Ish? Or...
No, not specific, but I think I covered the points because I given this topic by considering, because I was struggling with something. Then I thought it would be good to discuss with the bigger group and about the things, and then I said I had a really good insight. I got some really beautiful insights to proceed further on some of my things. And thank you everyone for helping me on that.
Right. So though we had maybe we were expecting 10 or 11 at least in the today's session, but we didn't. I don't know. Maybe people are busy, which is okay. Right. But again, in case if you feel that this is worth your time, I think it's okay to spend maybe 1 hour every alternate Thursday. Right. So, and in case if possible, try to spread it to your other colleagues and friends. Right. And let's see if we can bring at least one along with us next time.
Yes, definitely. No, but that's really nice, and I think that's a really great initiative where at least we are discussing, and it's always learning. Like when you people discuss the approach and you come to know the different techniques, so that's really good. And I will try to join in the future. Because this time, first time I joined this type of things, and I really never found how this 1 hour got passed. I just seen the time now. And it was really good discussion.
Right. That's why we want to keep it as informal as we can. In case we don't want to have another PPT and all that stuff. But in case if you have time or you can prepare it, that's okay. But let's have a discussion.
Right? Yes. Thank you.
Good. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, everyone. Right. Enjoy your evening.
Guys, thanks, Satya.
Thank you, guys. Bye bye.
Take care. Bye bye.